Well, it's D-Day for Prince Harry. The financially fraught Duke of Grifting is about to find out how much money he owes after he lost his High Court case against the British press, and it could bankrupt him. The jams, the dog biscuits, the spare book, the subsequent interviews trashing the royal family have been financial disasters for Harry and Meghan. So how on earth will they afford this one? Now, you'll recall he claimed the Daily Mail used improper means to access information about him. However, a judge found no evidence and he walked out of a London courthouse earlier this month with his little tail between his little legs. The court has today heard Prince Harry and the other claimants have been told the costs incurred by associated newspapers for defending the case amount to a mammoth, wait for it, £34.5 million. That is 45 million US dollars. Wow. And the Daily Mail is seeking an interim 13 million payment after its publisher argued that the trial was pursued in a cavalier and highly unreasonable and inexcusable fashion. So how will Harry, Elton John, Liz Hurley and the others pay for this if they are indeed forced to pay up that big 45 million? Now, Elton John has already warned Harry, I am not an ATM. I'm not an ATM. Don't come knocking to me. Don't come begging me for money. So Harry can't go crawling to him for help. That friendship's all but over. So is Harry going to turn to his father, the king? I'd love to hear this conversation. Daddy, like I know I've spent the past few years slandering you, calling you and the royal family racist, spilling those family secrets, but Daddy, can I please borrow, 50 million pounds from you? Please, sir. Seriously. And there are even reports that he's going to write Spare 2.0 to cover the costs. Incredible, right? So Prince Harry's tipped to write a follow-up bombshell to Spare as financial pressure is mounting on them. Award-winning journalist and regular here on Danica Goes Global, Paula Frolic, claims that Harry is attempting to generate interest in it. She told News 24 they're kind of running out of money. Well, yeah, it's over for Harry. He's boring, now bankrupt, and a complete basket case. Joining me now is GB News star and host of Alex Armstrong Tonight, Alex Armstrong himself. Welcome to the show, Alex. It's great to see you. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been another busy week in the UK. Let's start with some politics. The UK Greens leader, Zach Polansky, he's refusing to apologise for sharing an image of a man wearing a T-shirt that called for the decapitation of Nigel Farage on social media. This is a picture. It's a man in a black T-shirt emblazoned with the words, "We're only making plans for Nigel," alongside a guillotine. And now here are Polansky's latest comments.
You want to take this opportunity to apologise to Nigel Farage?
Well, if I'd done it deliberately, I'd be apologising. But because this was a mistake, I think the important thing is that I point out it's a mistake, that I also make sure that I condemn political violence. And also, crucially, I make a commitment to be better on my social media.
OK. Do you want to apologise then or not?
No. The reason for that is because Nigel Farage, when I posted this, or when the person posted it, it got less than 1,000 likes. Nigel Farage then took it, cropped it, so it made it look like I posted it, which I think was fundamentally dishonest. It's now had 3.2 million views. So actually, this whole conversation has been seen more because Nigel Farage, the Yusuf, and I think Richard Tice posted it.
So, Alex, now he's blaming Nigel Farage for something that he claims he shared as a mistake. How does this make any sense?
None of it makes sense. None of it makes sense. Everyone's in uproar about this for so many reasons. First of all, I just want to cast everyone's minds back a couple of years ago when we had the Southport riots as a result of a heinous crime committed here in Britain. And there were people locked up for what the judicial say here in Britain is incitement to violence. That is, people saying we should burn down hotels with full of asylum seekers and stuff we've all condemned, right? We've all condemned that stuff. There were some people, though, who were put in prison for more dubious statements, like For All I Care. The famous case is Lucy Connolly here in the UK. She went to prison for a couple of years for a social media post, right? And then we had people like Zach Polansky who were heralding that. They were jubilant at people being locked up. People like me and probably you were saying, hey, hang on a second. One day, these laws might be weaponized against you. I don't believe anybody should be locked up for social media, just to put that out there, first of all. But the problem here is this is two-tier justice all over again. It signals if you're on the left and you're part of the left-wing establishment, you're not going to go to prison for making a mistake or deleting the post or accidentally collaborating with some people who are clearly nasty, nasty people. How on earth did that get past your party officials in the first place? But quite frankly, people are looking around their shoulder today because this guy's not going to prison. He's not being arrested, by the way. The police have thrown the case out this evening. And people are asking, well, if someone apologized and said, well, maybe my tweet was taken the wrong way, and I went to prison for 2 years, I'm just an average member of the public, and it got a few hundred views and loads of left-wingers online sharing it, which is what happened, by the way, the same thing that Zach Polanski is accusing Nigel Farage of, sharing the post. That's the same thing that happened to all these innocent nobodies. Nobody had heard of people like Lucy Connolly before. Well, they were sentenced to some really tough prison time, and they still are suffering the results of that today. But if you're Zach Polanski and you're on the political left, well, that's okay. You can share these images. You can let thousands of people see this is fine. And of course, on top of this, Danica, it comes on the back of Anne Widdecombe, a very right-wing politician in Britain, being murdered just a couple of weeks ago. We haven't even seen the motive for that. I think we can all probably guess what it was. But we haven't even got a motive for that. And yet this guy thought it was appropriate to collaborate with these people who clearly aren't nice people and then delete it and go, well, because I deleted it and it was a mistake, I'm recused of any responsibility. Well, tell that to the people that were locked up in prison for 2 years while you were jubilant about it. And one more thing to add to this. There was a famous comedian here in the UK who was also arrested by the police at an airport for making a joke about trans people. Zach Polanski said it was incitement to violence. So the hypocrisy here stinks to high hell. And I think British people are wondering, and they're waking up to the reality, actually, there is a real two-tier problem in Britain.
Yeah, and I know that you're talking about Graham Lynham, and I've interviewed Graham many, many times, and I think what happened to him was unbelievable two-tier standards. And this is the problem. And you know, you spoke about Anne Widdecombe, and the rhetoric of the left seems to be ignored, and it's always the Conservatives that are painted to be the enemy of the people. And I just wonder, Alex, why? How did we get here?
Well, what's happened in the United Kingdom, and this is a warning to all of you guys in Australia. I visited your beautiful country a couple of years ago, and I've seen how quickly these things can go downhill, by the way, with the wrong political establishment. But what's happened is, even under a conservative government, a conservative government with a massive majority, we've actually seen the seeping in of left-wing values into conservatism over the last 20 years. That's since Tony Blair took over, the Conservative Party pivoted towards the left, and that's made them more finding this DEI left-wing culture more acceptable, when actually they should have been pushing back on this stuff. And that's meant that laws have been written in a way, and the judiciary has got so much power now that actually they interpret things the way they want to. We even have a case here in the UK where the Sentencing Council, this somehow independent body that provides guidelines to our courts, are even suggesting that based on your race and ethnicity, you should have a different sentence to a white British person. That's the kind of stuff we've got here. They even end up in a row with a Labour Home Secretary over this stuff. It caused so much outrage. All of this happened under a Conservative government.
Legal battles involving high-profile public figures rarely end when the courtroom doors close. In fact, the financial and reputational consequences often become the real story. Prince Harry's latest High Court setback has sparked a wave of speculation, not just about the verdict itself, but about what it could mean for his future, his finances, and even the business ventures he shares with Meghan Markle. But is the situation truly as catastrophic as some headlines suggest? Or is there more to the story than meets the eye? One of the most interesting aspects of this case isn't simply the legal outcome. It's the growing perception that Prince Harry has become increasingly willing to challenge institutions through the courts. Every lawsuit carries significant costs, regardless of who ultimately wins. For public figures, those expenses extend beyond legal fees, and often include the unseen costs of prolonged media scrutiny.
Right? All of these laws, all of this madness happened under the Tories when they had their own party in government with a massive majority. And nobody batted an eyelid because the Tories weren't weaponizing these laws. But the minute that Keir Starmer became Prime Minister and we saw British people revolt en masse, and many of them did, some people did some horrible things, but most people were peacefully protesting. They cracked down on it. Keir Starmer said he's going to open the courts for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to make sure people who put nasty tweets out about asylum seekers, and some of them had said horrific stuff. I'm condemning all those things, just to be clear, but some of them had said dubious things like Lucy Connolly, where she said, "For all I care." Well, the law said that actually she should go to prison for that. She didn't get a fair hearing, in my opinion, and a lot of lefties got off on it. There was even a guy who said we should slit people's throats on the right here in Britain. He got let out too. So people in Britain are looking around going, what on earth is going on? But this all comes down to law and the interpretation of the law by our judges, who are overwhelmingly far left and left wing.
Yeah, and it's the same in Australia. Our judicial system, I believe, is captured by the left wing, and it is frightening, absolutely frightening. You mentioned asylum seekers, and the UK Prime Minister Andy Burnham, he claims that the plan is working when it comes to stopping the boats and illegal migration. This is what he said.
The Home Secretary has brought forward a very rigorous plan in relation to this, and let's remember, of course, the numbers can fluctuate, but overall, boat crossings are down quite significantly year on year. So that does suggest that the plan is working.
Alex, I noticed you mentioned on your social media that 37% more illegals arrived in Burnham's first week as PM compared to Keir Starmer. So how on earth is the plan working?
Yeah, we're all scratching our heads. We really are. I'm dubbing it Andy's Armada, right? This is the Andy Burnham. This is the new name for it, Andy's Armada. I mean, what planet does this guy live on? He's been running away from the British press for weeks. He won't take comments from GB News, by the way. It's been a struggle to get some of his ministers on our channel just to give them a fair hearing, by the way. We're not here to crucify them, but that's the kind of stuff we're getting further and further left wing with this guy. He thinks the plan's working. Well, why didn't you say that to the mega dinghy carrying 165 people that came across the channel in his second day in office? We are now up 37% week-on-week comparison between Keir Starmer's first week and Andy Burnham. Andy Burnham is seeing a higher volume of illegal migrants crossing the channel under his leadership than Keir Starmer did. And the problem is, Danica, is that the best deterrence for these illegal migrants is the weather, right? That's where we're at. It's just good weather in the channel, but it's not working. We all know it's not working. There's some really nasty people coming over from France to Britain, and we can do nothing to stop them because there's no will to deport these people or to make Britain a less attractive country to come to. That's the reality.
Yep, that is clearly the reality. And I love it that Andy's gone into hiding, won't take questions from the likes of GB News. So he actually, and I noticed that he prefers the BBC. So yeah, that doesn't surprise me whatsoever. It's his familiar territory. Now, an Albanian migrant with a number of convictions for drug-related offences has temporarily avoided deportation from Britain because his daughter wets the bed. I mean, this is where we're at. Wow. An immigration tribunal has ruled that removing him would have an unduly harsh impact on his young daughter, and his child's condition worsened during periods when her father was imprisoned and the pair were separated. Alex, when I was reading this, I was baffled because it reminded me of that story recently. There was that Spanish drug dealer allowed to stay in Britain because of his ex-partner's depression. Then you had a Polish domestic abuser deemed to be a high risk of harm to children but allowed to stay so he can parent his daughter. A Pakistani drug dealer had to teach his son how to shave. Oh, and then the criminal migrant allowed to stay because his son doesn't like foreign chicken nuggets. I don't know how any of us can make sense of what's going on. Please explain.
I'm laughing. I know people will look at me going, why are you laughing, Alex? Because it's a circus. It's a clown show. Like, you can only laugh. If you don't laugh, you're going to cry. You're going to cry because you'll look at this and go, are you serious? Bedwetting, chicken nuggets, shaving. I mean, it all beggars belief. It beggars belief because these people are dangerous. The reality is that foreign criminals are being put ahead of victims in this country. That's how severe it is. We've got a prolific grooming gang ringleader who did, I won't even say it here, but he did some nasty stuff that would make your stomach turn 50 times over. We can't deport him back to Pakistan. We can't deport him. Yet we've got 500,000 people going on holiday there. Why? Why? People are asking, why on earth are victims coming second to these horrible people they've destroyed countless lives up and down our country? And I think it just goes to show how broken the system is. We've got Germany deporting 34 Afghans back to Afghanistan, but our Home Secretary's like, hey, sorry, we can't do that. We can't do that, by the way. Why? Why? Danica, we're all besides ourselves. In fact, these stories have become so normalized. People are just kind of like, oh yeah, I've seen that before. That's the problem now. We're getting desensitized to it all. This used to make headlines. People these days just shrug. It's sad. It's really sad.
Yeah, it's so sad that it's become, desensitized, and it's always at the expense of everyday Brits who are paying, you're paying your taxes. You work really hard, and your country is just going bust because of a broken migration system. It's actually sad to see the state of the West and how it's buckled to open borders, mass migration, the multiculturalism experiment. It's frightening to see what's going on. Alex, I've got to talk to you about the royals because I know, like me, it's one of your favourite topics as well, especially when it comes to Prince Harry. So it's D-Day over in the UK. This 2-day hearing has begun to find out how much money he owes, of course, after he lost his High Court case against the British press. Now, he claimed that the Daily Mail used improper means to access information. However, a judge found no evidence, and of course he walked out of a London courthouse earlier this month with his tail between his legs, Alex. Now, I was reading that he could actually be now up for tens of millions of pounds in legal fees.
Yeah, well, I think the last number I heard was 38 million.
Wow.
I think it may have even climbed beyond that at this point. Some reports are saying 50 million. Oh, I mean, this is ridiculous. The guy's got a vendetta against the press. And look, the human side of me says, I understand what happened to your mother. I understand where you may have some bad blood towards the press. But this is dragged on. We've moved on from this stuff a long time ago. The press in Britain has changed a lot. So what he's doing is really stirring up old problems. And I think partially, I believe, part of this is to keep himself relevant. I mean, most people settled their cases a long time ago. He said he was going to fight it to the end. Well, he fought it to the end and lost. He could have settled and made some money. Maybe that just goes to show how terrible the business acumen between the two of these guys are.
Strategic planning and damage to public image. The bigger question isn't whether a single court decision changes everything overnight, but whether repeated legal disputes gradually become harder to justify, both financially and professionally. When discussions turn to the Sussexes' finances, it's important to separate speculation from reality. While headlines often suggest enormous wealth or devastating losses, the truth is usually more complicated. Their income comes from multiple sources, including media projects, investments, and previous business agreements. Even if a legal defeat results in substantial costs, it doesn't automatically mean financial collapse. However, repeated legal expenses can place increasing pressure on long-term planning, especially if future projects don't generate the same level of revenue expected when they were first announced. Beyond money, reputation may be the more valuable asset at stake. Every public controversy influences how audiences, business partners, and potential collaborators perceive a celebrity. Companies generally prefer predictable.
And the other thing I'll say is she's got to sell a lot of jam, Meghan Markle. She's going to be in that. She's going to be making a lot of jam jars to sell 50 million's worth. Let me say that because he ain't bringing in any money. What kind of money is he bringing in? Nothing. The guy's best cameo recently was on MasterChef Australia because Meghan FaceTimed him. I mean, how insufferable. What a life to live. They could have lived in palaces. They could have been the most popular royal part of the royal family in Britain. Harry's always, before he met Meghan, been the most popular royal here because he was seen as so down to earth. He was seen as so British and one of us. He ruined all that. He has bent over backwards for a woman that actually just wants to see him crumble, and so she can take the spotlight. And look how badly it's gone. Look how badly it's gone. They're going to be in debt to 50 million quid. Who's paying that?
Yeah, exactly. You're right. He used to be that fun, likable character, but now he's the spare to his wife, who's just seeking fame and fortune, and making MasterChef appearances. How tragic! And well, the jams haven't sold enough already, Alex. So I'm not sure what they're going to do about their financial situation. We'll stand by for the outcome there, but fascinating. And look, lucky you, because Harry's about to return to the UK again. It's understood Harry will be there in September for a string of engagements for the annual Well Child Awards. The Sun is even reporting that he'll be offered a room by the King at Buckingham Palace. And we know a couple of weeks ago, the King offered it to him, but then they were too slow to make their decision. So the King said, well, you can't stay at the palace anymore. But it got me thinking, Alex, you've got Harry, who claims that London is unsafe, that he could possibly be the victim of a terror attack if he doesn't have taxpayer-funded security. Yet he goes to London a couple of weeks ago, and now he's going back within a couple of months. So what's the bet he's going to ask you, the British taxpayer, again, to pay for his security?
I mean, this is the thing, right? It's the same when he went over to Australia. He's making a big fuss about all of his security arrangements. Should I bring my wife? Should I not bring my wife? Are my kids safe? Well, actually, Harry, you're the one who made your family unsafe. There was no threat against you until you started bragging about how many people you killed in Afghanistan, which, by the way, if you speak to any veteran, and I speak to them all the time, say that is a no-no. You don't do that. Don't stir up the enemy. We don't glorify our kills. We do what we do for our country. But Harry decided to put that all in a book and then put it in an audiobook and then talk about it on national TV. I mean, what do you expect, right? But the reality is British people don't want to pay for Harry. If he's a working royal and he's going to go and open cancer wards and do the job, sure, people will be fine with that. But we're sick of these grifters. We don't want them here in Britain. They've made their life in Montecito. They wanted to have privacy, but they've done anything but that. I think British people have well and truly turned on Harry. He's lucky that the King is offering him a room in Buckingham Palace, because none of the other royals live there anymore, by the way. Even the King's moved out, so he's thinking that might be a safe place to put him. There's no leaks that way. But on top of that as well, when William takes over, we know that he's done with Harry. So this might be Harry's last bit of redemption, but I don't think it's going to last very long.
No, I don't think so either. And it's not like William even wanted to see him when he was in London a couple of weeks ago. I think everyone is done with Mr. and Mrs. Grifter. They've become tiresome, quite frankly boring, and just genuinely annoying, that because they are grifters. They're just money-seeking hypocrites. It's extraordinary. Sarah Ferguson, it's been revealed that she's been staying at her ex Paddy McNally's Switzerland chalet after being evicted from the Royal Lodge. According to The Sun, the motor racing manager gave Ferguson refuge at his home before he died earlier in the week. Alex, she's been globetrotting really since her ex-husband Andrew's arrests, and plus all those gross revelations, the emails that came to light, her exchanges with the pedophile Jeffrey Epstein, but even allegations that she had an affair with Diddy, of all people. But oh, goodness me, nothing ever surprises me with Sarah Ferguson anymore. But if I were her, I would be staying as far away from the royal family. They don't want anything to do with her, because it is a toxic brand, her and Andrew.
I mean, talking of grifters, there is no bigger grifter than Sarah Ferguson. Yep. I mean, this woman has made an entire career of being a nightmare for Britain. Of course, famous ex, Prince Andrew, somehow they were still sort of together, not together. She was living with him, not living with him. I mean, who do these people think they are? Do they think the British taxpayer want to fund their lifestyle? Of course we don't. Of course we don't. We don't want this extended royal family full of people like her that are actually here to ride on the coattails of the royals, but drag them down while they do it. I mean, this is someone, when the whole Epstein stuff came out, she sort of rebuked it all, and then she's decided, actually, oh no, all my emails have leaked. I better run away into exile. We'll stay there, frankly. We're not interested in all of that stuff. We're worried in Britain because the Republican movement is rising so rapidly right now because of all this stuff we've just been talking about. Now it's getting even worse because of people like her, and she's still sponging off somebody who, I mean, it seems like he's definitely dead, and she's still managing to sponge off this guy. So I mean, who's next? She might be asking to move into my spare room.
Wow, look out, Alex. I mean, you might have Fergie as your neighbour soon. She's a hoot apparently. If you've read some of her previous stuff, she's a real hoot. So there you go. Now, look, just before we let you go, I've got to actually ask you about Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. He could be stripped of his freedom of the City of London. So this is possibly one of his final honours. I'm just shocked at this point, Alex, that he has failed to give it up voluntarily, given there's an ongoing investigation, all of the allegations that are levelled against him. What he has done, is his time as a working royal. I just think, gosh, bow out and give it up.
Yeah, I mean, just talk about bowing out gracefully. This man can't do anything with grace. He can't even do an interview with grace. I mean, the guy has destroyed the Pizza Express brand here in the UK. Is that not enough damage if you think you can take down one business with you? I mean, this is ridiculous, right? The guy should have just been humble about it all. He should have read the writing on the wall, but he can't, can he? He's got to be dragged kicking and screaming for every award or honor or title he's got. He's already been stripped of the most important titles. What was he going to do? Write that at the bottom of his emails next? Oh, City of London Freedom Award. I mean, this is getting ridiculous, right? We just want him to go away. As I was saying, we're getting concerned that these people are ruining what has been a almost 1,000-year tradition in Britain of a monarchy. They might not make it at this rate with people like him. Just stop, go away, stop sponging off everyone else. Do you know what? If you've got to go work in Tesco or McDonald's, so be it. It might even be more honorable than sponging off everyone else you know because you want to maintain your lifestyle. Well, we don't want to maintain it for you, Andrew. Go away.
Yep, go away and stay far, far away from the royal family. Is an absolute blight
Please.
on Britain, that's for sure. Alex Armstrong, host of Alex Armstrong Tonight, a wonderful show. Our viewers over in the UK, check him out on GB News. He's absolutely brilliant. Alex, I'm so grateful to you for coming on. Thank you very, very much for joining me.
Thank you, Danica.
Partnerships and prolonged legal disputes can create uncertainty, even when they don't directly affect commercial agreements. This is why many observers believe the real challenge isn't paying legal bills, but maintaining confidence among investors, streaming platforms, publishers, and other organizations that value stability. Another angle worth considering is public opinion. Royal stories often divide audiences into opposing camps, with supporters and critics interpreting the same event very differently. Some see Harry's willingness to pursue legal action as standing up for principles, while others believe these repeated court battles have become increasingly costly distractions. That split in public sentiment matters because public figures depend heavily on trust, attention, and audience engagement. Reputation often influences opportunity just as much as financial resources. Looking ahead, this case could shape future decisions for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. They may become more selective about legal challenges, place greater emphasis on rebuilding their public image, or shift their focus toward projects that reinforce their long-term brand. Whatever direction they choose, one court ruling is unlikely to define their entire future, but it could become part of a larger pattern that influences how they're viewed in the years ahead. The courtroom may have delivered its verdict, but the bigger judgment will likely come from the public and the marketplace. Will this legal setback simply become another chapter in Prince Harry's ongoing story, or could it mark the beginning of a much larger turning point for both Harry and Meghan's future? What do you think? Is this being exaggerated by the media, or could repeated legal battles eventually take a serious toll on the Sussexes' public image and finances? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoy thoughtful analysis of the latest royal developments, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the next discussion.